Today, I'd like to welcome our guest, JJ Bhojani. Thank you for coming here today to meet with us, JJ.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to hearing about your story and really finding a purpose and in finding that space to think clearly and jumping outside of the comfort zone to really show up and care for yourself and show up for yourself in a really authentic way, and what that means for our life and the inner critic that comes out often when we want to step outside of our comfort zone, and how that shows up and can sometimes interfere with our capacity to get where we need to be. So thank you for being here today.
When you move from New York and Allentown down to like Orlando, the pace of things, the pace at which things go, did you notice that right away?
Absolutely. I didn't notice that. I didn't notice the pace as much as I noticed the noise. So like, being up north, New York, Pennsylvania, there's noise. There's fire trucks, there's police, there's something going on. And Orlando, you can drop a coin in the middle of the day and you would hear it because it's just silent. And then, people at the traffic light take longer to move. My dad was getting more upset than he was over there. So, you start noticing these little things that to me didn't mean much. But now I'm like, when I go back to New York to visit, I'm like, whoa, everything's fast forward. This don't slow down.
As you grew up, I remember seeing you and seeing how there was this ambition. There's always this ambition inside of you. What is it, if you can take yourself back to your early days? What was it that you would, not what you think it was today as you analyze yourself, but if you just take yourself back to that person, what was it that person was just genuinely after? What is it that they were looking so forward to? What was it that they wanted so bad?
So looking back, I would say is probably, wanting to get the stuff that, I didn't have. So more materialistic things at that, at the age of 10 and 12, I'm like, why isn't my dad driving a Mercedes like this guy's dad? Or why are we living in that big house like this guy's living in? Why are we living in an apartment? So those were the things that, at that age, without analyzing myself now at that age, those were the materialistic things was the only thing I knew at that time. To me, that was like the beginning stages of like, oh, there's something more to be had here. I just don't have it now.
Somebody asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's like rich. And it's like, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I want to drive that car. I want these things. And usually it came from not having those things, right? Like they say, we covet what we do not have. What did that signify to you then? Like, I mean, if you see the car, you see the house, you see whatever, what did that signify to you that they had these? What did it?
If you had the nice car, if you had the nice house, if you had the nice things, then everything else had to be going well. And at 11, 12 years old, I'm like, if I have the car and the house, then what else could go wrong?
Yeah, they look successful. They look happy driving that car, so it must be. So that's the pursuit of happiness, right? Isn't it? So so you started doing this, and so you found out that there was another way to get out there and do it. What did you then do about that as you discovered that?
So as I discovered that, then obviously like any other guy would do, I try to figure out how I can get involved. So now it's going to high school, working for said people during high school, so I could kind of figure out what they did to be able to not go to college, to be able to drive the nice cars and do the nice things and travel and do all the things that I was looking to do. So if you can't beat them, you join them. So I joined them. Get me into a place where you don't have to go to school and everybody's making money, and get me out of this detention center that I hate every day. And then we just get out and inevitably you end up learning because you're just around people that are doing things, right? So like whether I was learning on purpose or on accident, it was happening.
Yeah.
So you left high school? Is that what, like, you actually left high school?
No, so in Florida they had an OJT program, so it's basically on the job training program. So you could take off the classes of the day. You could take off, a job. So I was working at McDonald's prior to that, and that was going nowhere fast. So when I got an opportunity to work in the industry that I'm in now, I jumped on it and took off 2 periods. Now, to me, that was the turning point in my life. It was.
Yeah, it opens up doors.
So you get into this place where you're learning. What did you discover next as you kind of jump in and start learning things?
I discovered it wasn't as easy as it looked. That's for sure. There was a lot that went into getting the nice car and keeping a nice car. I'm doing all that stuff. But I think that what I learned was formal education was not definitely for me. But this street education is where I was leaning towards. Because, I only learned, until today, I only learn things when I get slapped. So it's not like, I'm sitting down and planning things and I'm like, oh, this may get me into a little bit of trouble. I'm head first. And then when I get in trouble, then we'll figure out how to turn right next time. So that's what I did.
It's interesting because, Trina, we've worked with some of the same people in our past. I used to work with some people out there in Orlando. And it's funny, I came from a different background, Ali. I came from a background where I did get some education. It wasn't even much of an education. I had a degree. And I remember when they first invited me to join them, they said, hey, we need a guy like you in our company. We need a guy who, can do things the way you do things. And I had this feeling, I went in as if I had something to give them. That's the feeling I had. Then when I got there, I quickly realized that, oh my gosh, I have so much more to learn. So it's interesting, right? Like we both took two different sort of approaches to get there. I just came into it because it was a friend of mine who simply said, we're moving to Florida. And I was like, I'm in. So it was that simple. So when I joined working with these guys, I started realizing two key components. One was, I got a lot to learn. And two, it's freaking hard work. The time that they put in, the hard work that they put in. I mean, did you realize that as well? Like how intensely?
I always thought it was just come to work, and that environment was so, like you said, was very friendly. For me, I was like, this is great. I just get to chill and we get to make fun of people. And we would, practical jokes would be going on in the office all day long, right? Like we'd start people's day and, all kinds of office crap that would happen. And, at the end of the month, the sales numbers are on the board and I'm like, man, great. I didn't realize that it's not 9 to 5. It's 5 to 5. Like it's all day, all night. You have to eat, live, and breathe it for it to actually become something else.
Did you just take to the work naturally, or were you like, dude, this is hard work. Maybe I don't want this?
So I think that because the work was a sales kind of thing, and one thing I really like doing is the chase of getting the deal and closing. I don't like the paperwork part and all that crap, but put me in a room where I can close a deal and then let me close, and somebody else can do the follow up. Cool, but like to me, it wasn't work. It was fun, man. It was I got to learn different ways to close a deal.
But then what did you do to work differently? I mean, at the beginning, you didn't have these, call it strengths or these skills.
Yeah.
So then how did you develop?
Watch all other 17 people, how they would react, how they would interact with people. I would go on trips with other guys. Even though it wasn't my vendor or my customer, I would just go and sit in the room and just listen to how they conduct themselves. I had my first vendor come in. I had him come to the office instead of me going to lunch with him because I was kind of like nervous. So I had him come to us and had my manager at that time sit with me and have a conversation and just help me, break the ice. Now looking back, I just wasn't confident then. And I wouldn't say I'm 100% confident now, but if you're talking to me in my business realm, then I feel comfortable.
You start achieving it, right? Like you're starting to see the response and you're getting confirmations back. So your vendor didn't drop you or your customer didn't drop you after they met, and right, and you got the sale, and now you're getting more sales, or you're getting a flow. You're in a flow of some sort, right? You felt like you're getting into some flow, and so with that flow comes confirmations like you're making more money, your sales are going up, you're feeling the rewards of it all now. Then what happens?
Then you get on the board, the sales board that they had, and this is how I look at it now. Like that sales board to me back then, it was so scary. You would have all 17 sales reps, and then months of the year down the whole year, and every month your total sale numbers would go on the board. So guys are doing hundreds and thousands of dollars in sales, and I did $8,000 in sales. And if that doesn't kick you in your butt, then nothing will. And I think that's almost the sink or swim, right? Because you have your own humility. Your self-worth is on the line, literally in a 12 by 12 board that has your name, has everybody else's name. They're like, oh, everybody else performed great, and JJ, you suck. So and when you taste that medicine, you never want to have it again. So now you're,
I've had that name at the bottom of the board as well. And so then, you see the name at the bottom of the board. Was there ever a time, Ali, you're seeing yourself? I mean, that's where you started, right? So that's the point of why we're here right now. And I think you love that you started there too. I think it's great to know you came from there.
I would take it back.
Yeah. But was there ever a time that you were trying and then you're not moving up the board? You're like, this ain't working. Like,
of course, yeah. And the first 6 months, I don't think I came off the bottom of the board.
And was there
the day that I did, all 17 people knew about it.
Yeah.
Quiet guy anymore. Like, now you're gonna know I came off the board. It's been 6 months.
You had attitude like the whole time that I've known. So even when you're at the bottom of the board, you have previous like successes to kind of remind yourself that, hey, I'm good when I put my mind to it. I'm good. Yeah, you had to lean on that a little bit.
A lot. If not, you get crushed in that kind of environment. You don't have any self, you have to be able to tell yourself something when when the board comes out on Friday and you're dead last and you walk in the bathroom. You gotta be able to tell yourself something besides don't cry in front of everyone.
Yeah, give them something
and make sure that you're coming back stronger on Monday. But yeah, absolutely. I think.
What were you saying to yourself other than don't cry?
I'm saying, well, the first is don't cry. The second is don't forget the goal. And any goal that's worth having takes time.
So, but what makes you think after failing, let's just call it that for a second, for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, you're not coming up. And I know these guys, they're not going to just like, here, make way for you. At some point in time, did you stop believing?
No, I think what I did was I made smaller goals for myself. So if I only did $8,000 this month, next month the goal is to do 12. And if I could reach those little goals within myself, it was almost a game within it. Yeah. And, hopefully, if I could reach 12, then what's 120? And if you get to 120, then what's 240? But just like you said in the beginning, I didn't think about having the house and the car because it seems so far away. Well, that goal of getting to 150K in sales in a month seems so far away when you're at 8. So all I can do is make something a little bit closer to 8, not 150. So that's all I did. Every month it was, the big game was going on. People were throwing staplers and things were happening. And in my head, there's a small game going on. Like, hey man, just get to 12, get to 15.
You turn it more into a competition with yourself than other people then?
And it's still happening until today.
Yeah, because that's really where it is, isn't it?
It's definitely all inside my own.
Is that interesting, Trina? That happens naturally. Like we've got these references to others, relativity to others, car, house, sales, whatever, right? And then at some point in time, it gives, and you're like, you started calling them smaller goals, but really they were back into competition with yourself. That's exactly it. And then you start experiencing some success, and then you start developing some momentum, and then next thing you know, it's tomorrow, as they say, right? A lot of people don't hear that part, don't remember that part, that you started all the way with nothing. And not only do you start with nothing, and when I say nothing, like let's also give your parents their due, credit. Were it not for your parents, right? Like obviously, right? But when we say nothing, you start at the back of the pack, and nobody necessarily even made it easy for you. It was like a beat down sometimes that you're taking. Right. But there's something also to be said about it not being made too easy for you too. And I know the guys that you worked with, and I know like the founder, and like I said, he's like a father to me. But he was always thinking, or they're always thinking really at the end of the day about your success too. They know that this is just their way of driving you. Maybe there are other ways. What do you call it?
Tough love is real in that environment.
Yeah. You're definitely a tough love kind of guy. So hey, that's the truth, right? Like it's been tough for you. So to find the love in it is also an accomplishment. But as you did that, now you're succeeding. you're going well, you're starting to see results. Then what?
Then I decided to say to myself, why can't I eat the whole pie? So,
Okay.
you know, when you start doing things and you know, you start achieving goals that you thought were impossible, and then you start saying, okay, so if that was impossible and I achieved that, how far into a possibility can I go? And then you start saying to yourself, well, why not do it by myself, for myself? And why not be able to, you know, kind of duplicate that process for somebody else, but in a much more coddled environment? Because I don't think now, like if I had an office, you know, in my office, if I did what we did back then, you know, I think I would get shut down by the state because it was inhumane. Sometimes the mental stress that, you know, you were given. But yeah, I think, you know, at some point, and I think knowing that you are wanting to do something for yourself is the only reason why I got into it in the beginning, right? Like it was to buy the house for myself, not for somebody else.
No, but JJ, you bring up a good point. And you know, you talk about mental health at work, and it's a big topic nowadays. A lot of times, and wellness overall, your overall wellness and mental health being a big part of it. And I think this could help a lot of people out there. When do you start noticing that you're going from tough love to unhealthy?
So I don't think I experienced, or I don't think I knew, and I still actually no, I don't think I experienced unwellness there or anywhere else. I think it was just me subconsciously being selfish and wanting to do something for me only. You know, when you work in a sales position, you get paid commission. Somebody else is getting paid the 75% if you're getting paid 25%. So in my head, the simple math was, if I do X sales every month and I'm giving away X, then let's say 50% of X is, you know, running expenses, but the other 50% is up for grabs. So better be me than you. And so I don't think it was, you know, that environment. I looking back on it, I don't think I ever was unwell in that environment. I think I think I thrived in that environment. If it wasn't for that environment, I don't think I'd be out. I will not be where I am now, for sure. So that environment for me worked. For others in that environment, I saw them crash and burn. You know, and it's expected because, like you said, it's definitely not.
Cool. So you did well. That's amazing also to say that you would thrive instead of survive through situations like that. How is it that you were able to then convert something that others would crash and burn in to something that you could thrive in?
At that point, I'm pretty much the majority breadwinner for my family. My mom and my dad both. So I think, you know, yeah, they put me through the ringer because they knew I could go through the ringer and come out stronger. And you could see that the difference in approach for different people. So like, if you were the kind of guy that they knew, hey man, we can give it to this kid and he's actually going to come out on top, they would give it to you. But if you weren't that person, you would, you know, they would realize fast, and you as that person would realize fast. Just end up leaving because you're like, this is way too much heat. Having that exterior pressure of, hey man, there is no option of folding, because if I fold, then my parents are relying on me to do something. You know, my dad got sick, couldn't work, whatever the case is, you know, it all fell on my lap, and I accepted that also. And I think that was also the fire on the other end that kept this fire from being extinguished.
What's the timeline for that, JJ, from the time like you started this to your dad got sick and you in a position of caring for everyone?
So I would say 2 years, 2.5.
Oh, wow.
No, it's definitely been, you know, sink or swim from as long as I grew up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, 2 years he got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, couldn't, you know, wasn't able to walk, waist down. So, you know, at that point it was me or nobody. So, and I think, you know, looking back on it now, I mean, obviously, you know, seeking professional help is something that I've done, like seeing a psychiatrist and speaking to them, and, you know, getting all these things out has been something that has helped me get over the hump per se. But I think, and that's what brings me to, you know, I think that whenever I'm against the wall is when I perform the best. And there's not many people that are like that, but the people that are able to do that, you know, the results are there. So I think that would be the difference. I always knew that everything around me was like so forceful, I guess, for lack of a better word. So whether it was the office being forceful, whether it was at home, things had to get done. I didn't know any other way. So it wasn't like, maybe this is not for me. No, like we're here now. So it's either, again, sink or swim.
Some actually try to simulate that in real life. And the concept they use is called throwing away the ladder. Like you can't go back down. So Ali, then you decided to start your own, and it was a huge success right out the gate.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah. I bought the house. No, but we're not. It was a reality check. It was a reality check that I made it sound so simple in my head that, and they're getting 75% of what you're making. 40% out of 75% is expenses, and the other 40% is free money.
Right.
Very false mathematical. I should have stayed in school to learn math a little bit better.
Yeah, that kind of thing comes in handy, huh?
Yeah, for sure. So no, it wasn't hit the ground running. It was definitely hit the ground for sure. But again, I was my wife and I were expecting, and she was due. My daughter was born in February, and this is January that I started my own business. So 3 weeks before my daughter was born, I start the business, and I tell my wife, and I'm like, she's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not sure, but I know that based on my track record, if something has to get done, it will get done. So we'll get there." And then, February 15th, my daughter was born, and I started January 1st and signed my lease from my office January 22nd or something like that.
And which year was this?
2016.
2016. So it's interesting that happens with, and again, that's the startup culture sometimes that, there is so much studying and so much research that goes into like getting it off the ground right, hitting the ground running, like planning. You felt like you knew this business, you made some calculations, and you got the calculations, you were slightly off. You weren't wrong. You weren't wrong. It's just the math had a little, X was just a different number. You thought it was 1 and it turned out to be 4. It's interesting how like the baby being born could have been your at that point in time, the pressure, the motivator that you need.
Absolutely. I think that without that, I think without the pressure, I think I get, it's going to sound bad, but I guess I get lazy without the pressure.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I don't feel that pinch, so it can't be that bad. And when the pinch comes, I'm like, oh, pinch is back. Okay, cool. I'm going to do something. But yeah, without, I don't think it would be, I wouldn't have put my head down and done what I had to do if there was no baby. It was scary every day because, who are you going to call? I'm by myself. I can't call the guy I used to work for to ask for advice. Like, hey, remember me, the guy that used to work for you? Yeah, I left and I'm on my own. How are you mentoring me here? That's not going to work.
Yeah.
So it was, figure it out or don't, man. And, of course, like I never went to school for accounting. I never knew the state laws. I never knew HR problems. I didn't know any of this. I don't know it now.
What did you do, Ali? Like, it's not too long ago. What did you do?
I just did what I knew how to do, and I just overdid it and hoped that everything else would work out. So, I mean, sold more, bought more, and worried about the rest later.
I have this saying up above the water tank in my kitchen, and it says, "Well done is better than well said." And so it made me think of that, like what you're doing. But it's like,
steal that one. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good. I like it because it's like sometimes you just got to do the work, and you can't. And here I am, like a social worker, and we talk about thinking and planning and strategizing, but sometimes you just got to like literally go with your gut and just do, and then recalibrate as you're doing. Because I think when you're in survival mode, that's really what it is. You don't have the luxury of reflecting all the time and in a thoughtful way, right?
Like the story we get told, right? We get told this a lot in the Quranic sort of teachings, right? It's the story about an ant. It's like, if an ant can find food, I'll get food. I'm not going to starve. I should be okay. and that was it. But it all comes from the same place. Now, okay, Ali, so you figure things out. You're moving along. 2016, 17, 18. You're moving along. You seem to be figuring it out as you go along. So then, why do you all of a sudden get all disruptive with the way your day goes? What are the signs to you that you wanted to change something?
So I think it's, in the beginning you asked me, what made you do it? And, it was the materialistic house, car, travel, that stuff. What I failed to realize then and what I realize now is at some point you do that stuff and now it's like, okay, now what? Once you achieve the goal of the material, now you're like, all right, what can I do to keep going? So now I'm looking at myself and I'm like, all right, well, you're pretty messed up. There's got to be some stuff that we can fix. And having a conversation with the way that we're having now, everything sounds like it was just bam, 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 house.
Okay.
Every 2 bands got me 1 pop, and every 3 bands got me 2 pops, but this will be a long podcast. They're full of pops too.
I don't need to know all the pops, but be real with me. There's got to be something that said to you, something's off. You're messed up. Why would you say that? You sound like good. You're married. You got a kid on the way. You're doing all these things that you should be doing. What's not right with you?
Yeah. So when I sit down and talk to people that were in the business and I tell them my story and they're like, you're actually psychotic. You should get checked out because nobody in their right mind leaves a W-2 job that gives you a paycheck every week and just jumps off the cliff 3 weeks before they're having a baby, right after they got married. You're not normal. Nobody does this. I don't want you and I've talked to several people that are like, nothing about what you said is normal. We just want to let you know that. But then again, I'm also not a normal person. Like my heart's on the opposite side of my body. Like I'm just not normal. It is. So I tell myself that I'm crazy because I've done a lot of things that I don't think a normal person would do. And, gone all in on things that I don't think other people would have done. Got slapped a lot more times than I think other people got slapped because they would have been just more conservative than I was. But, looking at yourself and saying, okay, what can I do now to I guess pass this along to my kids and have to, give them an actual blueprint of, hey man, you can do A, B, C, D, F, G and not be as crazy as I was. Still get to the results that you need. So you start looking at yourself and you're like, all right, what can I improve within myself so that I can also, now I'm responsible for another body, right? Like there's another human. I'm also.
So you felt like you were taking too many risks? Is that it?
I feel like I was taking too many risks. And I think that, when you roll the dice and you hit the number you're supposed to hit a couple times, at some point you start thinking you're smarter than the casino. And that's when, things start to shift. So you make a couple of uncalculated decisions or in your head calculated decisions, but because they worked out in the past, you keep doing it. And then when they don't work out, you start looking at yourself like, maybe I lost that calculation in my head. And that's what made me go to like the 5 a.m. club, for example. And to me, the 5 a.m. club was, forget about the waking up early, working out, all that great stuff. But it was just about having that peace in the morning where I could actually sit down and make a plan. Like I haven't had a plan since 2016 because the plan has been
survive it.
Exactly. Survive. The plan was eat in 2016. Now we're in 2023 and the plan isn't eat anymore. It's make a real plan. Let's do something for the future.
So the guy who never had a plan is now finally starting to say, it's a good idea to have a plan.
Absolutely.
And when you started wanting to sit down to make plans and to do things like this, did you ever feel like what made you think that that's going to lead to a better outcome?
Because I think having structure is important, not just in business. Because I think the business side handles itself at some point, but on my personal side, having structure where I can leave work at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. and turn that off and turn on my second job, which is my family, my kids, my wife, my mom, and deal with that separately from dealing with this. Because the lines get blurred quickly when it's you by yourself in your small business and you're just trying to eat, and your wife's coming to the office because you just had a baby and you guys are having lunch together. It becomes very inclusive. and you end up taking on those bad days home. And, obviously that's not warranted, because at that time, what did my 6-month-old do to deserve me being upset because a deal didn't go through at work, or a customer didn't pay us, or a shipment was late? Something as small as FedEx didn't show up with a box today, my whole demeanor would change at all.
Do you think with the plan, the time, creating the space to do the plan is really more about creating the space for reflection?
1000%. Because I started journaling. Like, if you would have talked to me in 2016 and you brought up journaling, I would say you're Hocus Pocus.
Right.
And now I'm journaling, meditating, doing all the Hocus Pocus stuff that I was talking about then.
And so that's the thing so what are those things? Because those are the things I feel that help people be able to show up more authentically. And I know I used to call it mumbo jumbo.
That's what I'm trying to understand.
I'm too busy to do this. I don't have time for this. Exactly. They don't know what it's like to live this kind of grind. And so can you speak to like what that kind of, because you're diminishing this negative self-talk and pushing through to actually get to the capacity to be able to benefit from meditation or to benefit from journaling. So like, what was that part of the journey like?
Yeah, how did you go from thinking like it's Hocus Pocus to like doing it? Like what? I don't understand. What changed?
Yeah, so I read the 5 a.m. Club, and that book, I've read it probably 74 times, no exaggeration. And I started also like really listening to people around me. There was a few guys that I would talk to. We would have a cigar every Thursday, and we would talk in the same industry, some not, some are, but all, successful in their own right. And we would sit down on a Thursday, would smoke a cigar, and we'd talk about, business and work. And that conversation started changing into, hey man, what about you? And we started doing like a mental wellness check almost on ourselves. Hey, JJ, how are you on a scale of 1 to 10 mentally? And my beginning, I was like, I'm 11. Not to, I'm 11 mentally, because, I'm Superman and you guys are wasting my time right now with this Hocus Pocus. But then you read a book like the 5 a.m. Club and everything starts making sense, because it's like a story. And it's not like because I hate going to school. Like, still, like, it's a passion of mine. I hate to go to school, but like, that book wasn't I'm going to tell you what it's about. That book is, I'm going to give you a story and you're going to learn what it's about, the story. And I think that's why that book clicked with me so much. That book taught me meditation, taught me, that 1 hour, the power hour, they call it in the book. That hour in the morning is, if I could do that in 2016, man.
When did you first seeing the change in it showing up for yourself?
I think the first time I actually took, for me, like till now, like meditation is probably the hardest part for me, but when I took journaling serious and I actually sat down in the complete darkness and took out my phone or a piece of paper and I just wrote down in no structure and no format, just offloaded everything. The fact that session could make me like literally get emotional is when I knew that there's something.
Yeah.
You can almost feel it. Like,
yeah, it's like that brain dump. It's very cathartic.
Yeah, absolutely. When I sit down with myself the next morning and journal, and I have that conversation with myself, and I'm going to say, okay, what did you do yesterday? Oh, you did this. And like I do this in the morning from 5:20 to 5:40 every morning.
So last thought is, a lot of people get stuck on that part where they talk themselves out of doing something that's going to help them, even though they need it. What do you say now to somebody who's kind of like at that same cusp to take that one step forward?
What I would say to myself is that trying something for whatever intention, it doesn't matter as long as you try it. So if I'm trying to, like, I tried this just to so I could have a laugh and I could tell people that you guys are all psychotic, and I'm not. And that turned into me actually now talking to you about it and saying, hey, this stuff. So jumping off the bridge sometimes is not a bad idea. As long as you're not gonna die. This wasn't a life for that.
And here you are. So lovely to see it come all the way through to this point. And I think I'm really just excited. I don't think you're anywhere done. I think there's a lot more to see you do. And I'd love to hear more about your ideas, the things that you're working on, and then more importantly, how you break through on that. Ollie, it's been a slice, man. And for somebody who says, Trina, he's watching every single one of our episodes, who watches his time and what he does, and to be as ambitious as he is, appreciate the support, Ali.